Hey, welcome back, Pave the Way podcast. I'm here with the one and only Ricky Magana from LA, and Ricky's one of my good buddies. I met him a couple of years ago, and I'm really pumped to get him on the show today because he owns a few different businesses. He's obviously in the real estate business, and he's also in the gym business. So we're going to kind of get Ricky's story today. We're going to talk about how he started his businesses, what he's doing to be successful, especially in the marketing area, because Ricky's really got me turned on to this guy named Dan Kennedy, and I have been studying his stuff for a while now, and it's been working real well. So, Ricky, welcome to Pave the Way podcast, man. It's an honor to have you here.
Thanks for having me, Greg.
Awesome, man. Well, listen, let's just get right into it, man. So, before we get into your businesses, what's the backstory on Ricky Magana? Because I just learned how to say your.
Yeah.
What's the backstory? What were you doing before all this stuff, man? Because you're still a pretty young buck like me.
Yeah. I mean, not quite as young as the legendary Greg Helbeck, but still a young pup myself. But yeah, so I got into real estate in 2016. I became an agent in March of 2016, and I was just doing the regular agent thing. My background prior to that was in fitness. So if we go way back, go way back, junior high years, I was really overweight.
Really?
Yeah. So overweight, super out of shape, junk food, lots of television, didn't do a whole lot of activity. And when I was 16, my best friend and I decided to join a gym. Had no idea what we were doing. And we joined a Bally Total Fitness, and we kind of stumbled our way through the weights and tried to figure it out. Within 5 months, I was really overweight, and within 5 months, we kind of figured it out, lost all the weight that I had struggled with, all of high school and junior high, and I became addicted. So him and I got super, super obsessed with training and working out. We read all kinds of books, magazines, and we just joined. There was an LA Fitness that was hiring trainers. They're always hiring, but it's not a very high bar to get over. And we did like a weekend seminar, became personal trainers. And that was when I was 18 years old. So I started training when I was 18, graduated high school, and did it sort of all through college. It was a really great gig at the time. I was making my own schedule and training clients. And that kind of gave me the first taste of entrepreneurship, or at least working for yourself, making your own schedule, kind of getting paid based off of performance, and being able to make a lot more money the harder you worked. So that was my first taste of it. Around that time, there was the seed was planted because I came across the Rich Dad Poor Dad book.
Dun, dun.
The real estate red pill, it's like you read that book and like, boom. So I read that book, but I was 18 and I was still in school, and I kind of, it just planted a seed that I don't think was going to come to fruition for quite a while. But I had already been kind of bit with the entrepreneurship bug. So I went to college. I went to a private school out here called Loyola Marymount.
Know exactly where that is, right by Playa Vista out in LA.
Right. Yeah.
Know exactly where that is.
So I studied entrepreneurship. I went to business school there, and I kind of had the goal of when I graduated, I needed to start a business. I figure if you're studying entrepreneurship, you better start a business and get out of there and start acting on what you're learning. So that's what I did. So my best friend and I, we were trainers. We came across a thing called CrossFit right around that time, and no one was really doing it, especially around where we were. And when I graduated, him and I decided to start a gym together. So I think I had like a $500 credit limit on my credit card, and he had about the same. We sold a bunch of like fire sale memberships, sold like a 6-month membership for like $300 to like 10 people that we knew. Most of them were people I was related to. Raised a little bit of cash and bought some equipment. And we took on like this industrial space in the town where I live in San Pedro. And in 2010, we opened our gym, January 2nd, 2010. So we're coming up on our 10-year anniversary.
Dude, that's amazing. This is Heyday Fitness, right?
Heyday Fitness, yeah.
Dude,
yeah.
I love it. I like how you took your backstory. You're a great podcast guest because you're basically doing my job for me. So we're taking right from your background up into your first business. So obviously you go to business school, you get that entrepreneur or at least real estate seed planted in you when you read the ultimate book, Rich Dad Poor Dad. For the listeners, if you haven't read that book, you have to read it. It's like mandatory, or else
Right.
banned from my podcast from now on. Just,
Right.
but
Exactly. Yeah.
yeah, exactly. So let's kind of get into it. So when you said, no one was really doing CrossFit at the time, that was almost 10 years ago now. How did you really see that need in the marketplace? And then what did you do in terms of getting your how did you really get that first business off the ground? Like, what were some tactical things you did from a marketing perspective to make sure you have consistent, I guess deal flow really, even in the gym business?
Right.
You need
Right.
paying
Right.
customers and it's a continuity basis.
Yeah. So fitness is a great business in general because, as far as general population, 8 out of 10 people need to work out. Actually, 10 out of 10 people need to work out,
Yeah.
but 8 out of those 10 people know that they need to work out, and they just need some sort of medium or somebody that in their life that is everyone's intimidated to go to a gym. And so when you're out there sharing stories and they know you, like you, and trust you, they'll go to you to help them get results. So one of the first things that we did is, as soon as we became trainers, we just told all of our friends and family. And basically, you just need 3 core people, and then all of your business can kind of stem from that. Because if you can get results for 3 people, they tell 3 people, they tell 3 people, and you get this sort of critical mass. And so that's kind of what we did. We sold really cheap memberships. I think from the beginning, we didn't train people for free. But we were really serious about what we were doing. And this marketing guru, Perry Marshall, he said the best person to sell to. Yeah. He said the best person to sell to is the person you used to be. So when I was somebody who was overweight, I was able to empathize with a lot of people who were overweight, who were in that struggle, because I was there. I was there 2 years prior to that. So I would tell them, hey, this is who I used to be. This is what I struggled with. And this is where I am now. So allow me to get you where I am today, because I've walked the path. I've gone through that. I've stumbled, I've fallen, and I've gone through it. So I know exactly what you're going to go through. And it's a very easy sell when you can share that story. And then once we had about 10 people that we were training, I made these plastic gift cards. So I didn't want to give coupons. I think I was kind of dabbling in Dan Kennedy stuff. And one of the things that they said is don't discount anything. You want to give something that has intrinsic value or perceived value. So I made gift cards. They were $100 plastic gift cards. And we gave out like 20 of them. And we gave them out to our clients and friends. And we said, this is a $100 gift card. Give it out for a Christmas gift. And right before Christmas, so everybody gave them out as Christmas gifts, because it looked like any gift card that you would get at like a Starbucks.
Yeah.
And yeah. And obviously the timing of Christmas going into the new year was critical. And right around that time, we were personal training, and we were getting really burnt out on the fact that we had to trade hours for dollars. And so that's sort of the first epiphany as a fitness entrepreneur. And basically any person who wants to get out of a 9-to-5, they want to get out of the concept of trading hours for dollars. In order to make more money, I need to put in 40 hours, 50 hours, 60 hours. And all you're getting is your wage. And, one of the first things that we realized is if we scale, we can pack more people into an hour, then we can exponentially multiply what we're making per hour. And CrossFit was sort of, this is that, if you observe fitness, it kind of goes through phases. So the early 80s was the big club atmosphere. So everybody joined fitness clubs and worked out on their own. And this is kind of piggybacking off of observing the bodybuilding era of like Arnold Schwarzenegger. And then as we transitioned into the late 90s, early 2000s, it sort of went into boot camps. So boot camps became really big. And we kind of caught that wave without even realizing it. We were just trying to get more results by packing more people into classes and make more money per hour. And we fell into this thing called CrossFit. And CrossFit was so different because we'd gotten so bored with the conventional way of working out. Everybody's on machines and treadmills and elliptical machines. And those are great ways of exercising, but it just got boring, especially for people who were competitive by nature and they didn't want to stare at a wall or stare at a mirror as they did bicep curls. So when we sort of had tires and chains and slam balls and kettlebells, everyone's like, what the hell? are you guys doing? And that movie 300 had just come out.
Oh,
And
no way. Oh,
yeah. And so that piqued a lot of people's interest. And that was sort of the sales pitch. You know, if you want to look like the guys in the movie 300, this is how they trained. And nobody was doing this. So when we did that gift card promotion right into the new year, we kind of caught this wave, and we had like 50, 60 people show up as we did the grand opening of our gym. And the rest is history.
Dude, that's
Yeah.
awesome. So that's how, I never knew that part. I mean, every time you and I meet up, we're just jamming direct marketing and real estate for like hours at a time.
Right.
We got to start making our meetings later so we can go into like the wee hours of the morning and the couch.
Right.
But I didn't know this whole, I knew obviously you had a gym, but I didn't know like that's kind of how you started. And it's funny, like takeaway from that is like, you mentioned that, you know, you never want to feel like you're giving something away for free. So the fact that you got those gift cards and gave them out, because think about it. Someone's like, oh, I got this $100 gift card to Heyday Fitness. Holy crap. And then like the timing was there too with the whole Christmas thing. I'm sure that, and then I feel like with the gym business, and obviously you know way more about this than I do, I feel like it's a lot easier to get referral customers opposed to like in our real estate business. Like, yeah, I bought houses from referrals, or bought houses from referrals. But I feel like in your business, it's a smaller sale. Like it's not like someone's going to, you know, sell their $800,000 house. Like they're going to be, you know, paying a few $100s a month or whatever. So like it's a smaller sale, so you can really get a lot more kind of like word of mouth out there. Is that probably correct?
Right. Exactly. And it's continuity. So, and that's a beautiful business to have. You know, you want to have memberships. You want to build a customer base that can pay you over and over and over again. From a business standpoint, I mean, obviously you have to provide the value that justifies the expense of them paying you money. But when you can provide results for people and they feel like the support and accountability that they get from you, then you can kind of create a customer for life.
Yeah, absolutely. You can look at your like marketing on like a lifetime value perspective, not just like a one-time, like in our business of flipping houses, you know, a lot of the times it's a transactional business. You buy and sell a house, you 50 grand and then on to the next one. But with your business, yeah, it's a continuity basis, you know, it's reoccurring revenue, right?
Right. And I find like the front end of the fitness business and the front end of meeting with a motivated homeowner, it's very similar. Like I would meet with people for a consult, right? And to refer to Perry Marshall, and you'll probably hear me mention Perry Marshall a lot because he's kind of like him and Dan Kennedy and a couple others. They're kind of my marketing guru, but Perry Marshall talks about the concept of a bleeding neck problem.
Oh, I love it. It's in that 80,000 marketing book.
Right.
People think I'm like morbid. I'm like, yo.
Right.
Yeah.
So, right. Exactly. And so usually by the time someone has reached out to us to schedule a consult to start working out, the problem has become a bleeding neck problem for them. And I'm sitting down with them and I'm trying to agitate. I'm trying to draw out what the problem is and diagnose and then prescribe a solution. So when I'm meeting with somebody, I'm spending, and like real estate and fitness, there's a lot of preconceived notions and stigma attached.
Yes.
You know, the back room of a fitness club where you're pressured into signing a 3-year contract, you know, that's ringing people's ears when they meet with people. And so if you can kind of allay those fears and meet with people and say, hey, you know, I'm not here to get you into a 3-year contract so I can take your money, and then whether you show up or not is, you know, no care of mine. What I'm there to do is build rapport, build connection, tell my story, and then explain to them, like, this is why you're in the place you're in now. And these are the people that we've worked with that have been in a similar situation. And this is why we're professionals in helping you get from point A to point B. And in real estate, same thing. You know, you have an inherited property, you have a tired landlord, you have somebody that you're meeting with who's in a difficult situation. They don't understand real estate. Most people don't understand fitness. The whole thing is very scary and overwhelming. And you have to meet with them and kind of walk them through the problem and say, hey, listen, I know it's scary. I know you feel like you can't get out of this problem, but we've done this over and over and over again. And we're here to make it a very smooth and easy process for you. And, you know, we're not here to pound you into the ground with a low offer or scam
Yeah.
you out of your property.
Yeah.
We're here to solve a problem.
Yeah.
And if you don't have a problem to solve, then we're probably not a good fit for you. If you're just trying to get top dollar, then maybe you should list with an agent. But if you have a problem that you're trying to solve, we can help you.
That's so important, man. And it's like, I think that was a big issue that I had, and I'm sure a lot of new investors or people in the fitness business have this. They get so money hungry and they try to chase that dollar. They forget that the dollar comes with the value. So if you can't uncover the value, it's very tough to get that dollar. And it's funny because when I speak to people who have other businesses like you and some other folks I know, like there's obviously some similarities, but then there's also some differences, right? But
Right.
I think with the fitness business that you shared, like, yeah, like people have like, oh, I'm going to just get, they're going to try to sell me hard. And then all of a sudden
Right.
they're going to show up. So I think if you can debunk those myths, especially like in the beginning, it's going to make that sale a lot easier, especially when you can relate to them. Because I always say like you could be the best salesperson in the world, but if you don't have rapport with that seller, like it doesn't matter. Like they're not going to trust you. So like you could say all the right things, but if they don't trust you, forget about it. It's not going down. Right.
Right. Advance agreement. You gotta give them permission to say no.
Exactly. That just
I actually made up that concept and I'm really proud of it.
Permission to say no, man. Like think about it. Like before we transition into the real estate side, I mean, if you go into a car lot and you're like trying to buy a car and like someone walks up to you and they're like, hey, how can I help you? You're like, oh crap, the guy's going to try to sell me. But if he goes, hey, listen, obviously I know you walked down to the car lot. I don't even know if you're in the market to buy a car or not. I'm just here. My name's Rick. I'm just saying, hey, if you need help with a car or you need help, discussing some options, I'd be happy to talk with you. If you came here just to look, that's totally fine. Also, just wanted to reach out to see if you need any help. Either way is fine with me. You'd be so much more open to talk to that person because he literally took the pressure off and let you make the decision. You make the decision yourself. So
yeah, and to that point, like, so, Greg was my sales coach, and so we learned. You really drove home the concept of an advance agreement. And I think the game changer for me, because in advance agreement, you can read an advance agreement script, right? But the game changer is when you intrinsically get it. When you're intrinsically okay with getting a no and moving on, I think that's when your sales skills get a lot better. Legitimately, I don't care if I buy your property or not. If you don't have a problem to solve, then and you give me a no, that's okay. I'll move on. And I think people sense that. Because you can get caught up in the numbers. You can get caught up in, I need to get X amount of contracts this month. And when you have the desperation, people can smell that. And you're trying to lock it up. But when you can go into it, you kind of have to snap yourself to attention and say, okay, the intention here is that I'm trying to solve this person's problem, follow the sales process. And if there's something there, there's something there. And if there isn't, move on.
That is so powerful, man, because a motivated seller can smell a needy buyer like a shark in the water. Like we're up in Malibu surfing, like they can smell one, and especially out in your neck of the woods in LA, like my goodness.
Tell me about it.
We're going to get into that in a second, but it's so important. So as we transition now, so you shared earlier, you have your broker's license and you list properties, but you also buy properties with John Medina. Obviously, you're a business partner, one of my friends. So let's kind of get the story on how did you go from, obviously, you're a fitness entrepreneur, you got your real estate license. How did you end up getting into the actual real estate investment business? Like maybe how you met John and then kind of what you guys are doing today, from a deal perspective. Because you guys are, I think, the hardest market in the country. Between your market in San Francisco, you're in the hardest market in the country. So I don't think I've had someone in Southern California on the podcast yet. So this is.
Yeah. So, and this is the weird serendipity and synchronicity of life, right? So, I shortly after reading Rich Dad Poor Dad and kind of having real estate in the back of my mind, I would write down goals. And part of it was like, I want to get into real estate investing. I know absolutely zero about it, but I want to get into it. And I would write down these goals. And part of it was to find a mentor. So I wanted to work for somebody who knew what they were doing and was doing it. And so I wrote down that goal, and I had no idea how I would do it. And I had reached a point in the gym. We ran the gym for a couple of years. We hired staff, and this is another rabbit hole, but I went down the 4-hour work week, Tim Ferriss rabbit hole.
Oh yeah.
And learned outsourcing. Yeah. So I was able to remove myself from a lot of the operations of the gym, and we'd hired staff. And so I had freed up some time, and I had finally reached the point where I could pursue real estate. So I got my real estate license, and I said, okay, I'm going to get into real estate via becoming an agent. And I don't know how I'm going to get into investments, but I figure the best way to do it is to become an agent.
Why not?
So I became an agent, and I was just working the agent side, and, doing open houses, knocking on doors, cold calling, doing that whole thing, which is rough.
Real rough.
Yeah. And I did this one particular open house that was a fixer. So it was a guy who was putting his house on the market, and he was mid construction, and he found out that the contractor that he hired wasn't pulling permits. And when he confronted the guy skipped town.
Oh no.
So he left a half demoed job. And the guy was like almost 80 years old. So the homeowner was like, screw it, I'm just going to put the house on the market. So I was on a team at the time, and our team had the listing, and I did the open house, and it was a fixer. And I didn't really understand what that meant. And when I held the open house, I realized, oh, wow, there's a lot of investors here. And these guys are asking me if I have deals, as opposed to me puppy dogging all these homeowners or all these like home buyers, the end users. And they don't want to talk to a real estate agent. But investors are a whole nother beast. They want to work with you. I didn't know the language. I didn't know anything about real estate. But I had a little bit of a reputation in town for being a trainer, and I had a column that I was writing in a magazine. And during the open house, a guy walked in. His name was John Medina, and we were just chatting it up. And he's like, "You're a trainer here in town, aren't you?" And I was like, "Yeah." And he goes, "But you're a personal trainer too." And I was like, "I mean, you're an agent too." I didn't realize that. He goes, "Yeah." And I go, "You're John Medina." I'm like, "I think I've seen a sign around town that says John Medina buys houses." And this whole like buys houses concept, I had no idea what that meant. I go, "What does that mean, John Medina buys houses?" And he kind of explained it to me. He said, I'm an investor. I buy real estate. I buy them for cash, fix them up, and put them back on the market. I go, "Wow, that's really interesting." And he goes, "So anyway, you're a trainer, right?"
I can totally see John doing it.
Yeah. And I always make the joke that my first year in real estate, I got more personal training clients than I got real estate clients, because they always like brought up the fact that I was a trainer and they wanted to work out at the gym. And I'm like, "All right, fine. You can join the gym." So John wanted to start working out, which was actually great, because I started personal training him, and we started working out one-on-one, and it allowed me to kind of pick his brain. So we talked a bunch. We talked shop every single time we worked out. So he was working out, and I was just asking him a bunch of questions, and he was crushing it, but he was really, really overwhelmed. He was spread really thin, because he was going to the jobs, he was taking calls, he was going on appointments. And if anyone who's familiar with LA and LA traffic, you have 2 appointments in a day, like max. Like you're going from Pomona to Reseda in one day. Like that's a nightmare.
So, oh my God.
Yeah. So he was at a point where he was doing well, but it's a good problem to have, but it's still a big problem.
Oh yeah.
And so I was like, why don't you outsource it? So I had a rock star personal assistant that worked out of Cancun, and she was amazing. And she was like $7 an hour or something like that. And she took over a lot of the back end operations. And this is before I knew what a lead manager was. I didn't know inbound lead specialist, any of that. So I kind of told them about it. And right around that time, I hired a caller in the Philippines to cold call expireds. And so didn't know what I was doing. I was like, why don't I just pull this list and have somebody else call them? So I told them, right. So I told him about it. I go, I did this. I haven't gotten anything out of it, but I'm kind of dabbling with it. And he goes, "Really?" And he goes, "Come to my office." And so we were talking shop more, and he goes, "You know what? Why don't you kind of help me work through this technology side and outsourcing side and system side? Because I've done SOPs, I read E-Myth, I did all that." And he goes, "If you help me out here, I'll start feeding you all my listings." And I had gotten like one deal at that point. And I was like, in my mind, I'm like, "Oh shit." I don't know. Sorry.
I say fuck all the time on the show, dude.
So,
it's an explicit show.
So, right. But it was kind of funny, because I was like, wow, this is a great opportunity, because this guy is actually doing exactly what I want to be doing, but he has this need in an area where I know exactly what to do. So I started helping him, and he started giving me all these listings. So out of nowhere, I had done onesie twosie deals, and now I was getting all these listings.
Yeah.
And anyone who does real estate, especially as a real estate agent, once you get listings beget listings and beget listings. So you start getting a lot of referrals from that when people see that you're actually an agent that does business. So him and I kept working together, and we were getting results. And he reached the point where he was like, you know what? You can be my real estate agent and you can keep helping me out, but what I really am looking for is somebody that I can build this thing with. And, there's a fire burning and I want to pour gasoline on it. So if you're willing, I'd be open to becoming partners. So we had done a couple.
That's amazing.
Yeah. So, and we always talk about it. We had to date, right? We had to make sure you don't want to become partners with somebody before you actually know you're complementary, your skill sets complement each other, your temperaments complement each other. You're not a scumbag, all of that stuff.
Yeah.
Right. So it really though,
yeah.
I mean, you really have to align in a lot of different ways before you kind of make it legal. So we did that for a while, and we reached a point where we wanted to become business partners. And so that's what we did. That was a little over 2 years ago. So I've been in the investing game a little over 2 years, and that was my foray into it. I had this weird written down goal to get into it, had no idea how I was going to do it, and just started doing it and fell into a partnership that allowed me to apply a completely unrelated skill set and get into the game.
That's amazing, man. I really appreciate you unpacking that whole story, because people learn best, in my opinion, from stories, right? A lot of marketers talk about storytelling. Right. Here are the two takeaways I want the listeners to take from your story there on John. Number one, on you meeting John and becoming partners. Number one, you wrote down the goal that you were going to become a real estate investor, and you let the rest take care of itself because you took massive action. I have countless stories where I've done that myself personally, and other successful people do the same. The second thing is that you saw that John had a need that you could solve, and you guys complemented each other. Therefore, it's a very valuable partnership in terms of you guys both have, kind of your weight that you each pull. You have your strengths, he has his strengths, and together you guys really collaborate well together. And it's not like this, hey, I just met you, let's become partners, because why not? You guys dated, business dated, and then you decided that after that it made sense because you guys were both going to bring enough value to each other to justify that partnership. And now you guys are rocking and rolling in the toughest market. So let's give the listeners a little bit about kind of, you guys are in the Los Angeles area. What is a typical kind of, what do you guys kind of do on a deal basis? Because it's a little different in Southern California than it is some of these other markets. And then, if you'd feel comfortable kind of sharing some of these profits that you can make in Los Angeles, because that makes up for sometimes the lack of, volume from some people like to talk about how they do 15 deals a month. Realistically, in Los Angeles, no one's really doing 15 deals a month. They're doing smaller deals, almost like me in my market. Smaller deals, more profit per deal, which in my opinion is the way to go, especially with the market changing. Right.
So yeah, when I met John, John was just a straight flipper. So he was buying property, closing on it, rehabbing it, selling it. So he would put on the marketing hat, send out postcards. When he got a deal, when he got a lead, he'd put on the sales hat. And then when he got the deal, he'd put on the construction hat. Oh. So as you can see, when you're putting on a different hat, you're taking off the other one.
Yeah.
You stop marketing because now you're doing the sales. And then when you do the sales, you stop doing the follow-up because you're doing the construction.
Yeah.
So when I met him, he'd wanted to scale up. So he wanted to get into wholesaling and some of the other opportunities that you can do in real estate investing, and really, really scale up as far as deal flow. So when I met him, we started with the flips, and we had no idea. We had never done a wholesale deal prior to that, and we kind of had to fumble through it. So we kept doing primarily flips, and then started dabbling with the first deal that we did was one that he bought for $50,000 in Compton. So
$1,000.
Yeah, he got
tell everyone about that deal, man.
Yeah. So let's dive down that deal. So
straight out of Compton.
Right. So this is one of the first deals that I did for him. And imagine meeting a guy and you're like, he tells you bought a house for 50 grand. You're like, what the hell? So he met with a homeowner and the property was in Compton. It was, it was a shit show. So he really didn't want the deal all that much. He wasn't crazy about the property. So
$50,000, dude. A shed isn't worth 50 grand, bro.
Right. So that's why he kind of made a lowball offer because he was like, you know what, this property I'm not crazy about the property. I'm not crazy about the area. He offered 50 grand. They took it. They owed some back taxes. They wanted to be done with it, and they took the deal. So he comes to me and he goes, yeah, Rick, I have this property. I got it for 50 grand. I want you to put it on the market. Oh. This is basically wholetailing. And you know a little bit about wholetailing, right? Yeah. Right. So I didn't know what wholetailing was. He said, we're going to wholetail it. I didn't understand what that was. So I said, okay, I'm just going to put it on the market. So we put it on the market. I hit publish on the listing.
Yeah.
I kid you not, maybe 3.5 minutes later, I got a call for an offer.
Get out of here.
Yeah. It was for like 170.
What? Are you fucking serious?
Yeah. We got an offer for 170.
What did you list it for?
I'm sorry?
What did you list it for? Or just if you can remember, like a rough.
Yeah. So it was 50 grand. We listed it for 180. So the guy was like a lowball offer. Yeah. Lowball. I mean,
yeah.
we listed it for 180. We're like, yeah, let's just see what we get. So we got that offer. The guy tried to like Shark Tank it. He's like, take it right now or it's off the table. And John was like, John understood this game. I'm still like crazy wet behind the ears. I don't know any of the stuff. He goes, wait, just wait. So 2 minutes later, another call comes in. And then another call, and then another call, and then another call. I'm freaking out because we get like 30 calls in the first hour. Within a day, we had over 20 offers.
Holy shit.
And I think I had maybe dealt with a multiple offer situation once before that. So I was freaking out. And then investors are like, they're like humping you for the deal, right?
The worst, dude.
Bro, write up my offer. How do I get this? How do I get this? How do I get this? What do I got to do? And I hold an open house because we're getting all these blind offers.
Yeah.
And they're like, no, we're not going to accept an offer blind. So I hold an open house and all of these guys show up and they're all trying to like sweet talk you. I have a guy telling me that he goes, let's go to the bank. I'll take out $5 grand cash. You can pocket the money. Just accept my offer.
Oh,
brown paper bag shit. So, and I'm like, no, we're not going to fly this way. So we hold the open house. I end up double ending the deal. We bid it up to 220.
Oh my God. That's fucking, dude, I don't think we've ever talked about this before. This is
no, I never told you about this deal. No,
you're out of your mind, dude. That's
right. So that was a really good deal for us. Not only because obviously, he got 220 for the deal, but it allowed us to quickly build our buyers list.
Yeah.
So, quickly we had, 30 buyers and they were real buyers, so, we used those buyers that we got, people that we didn't accept. We ended up segueing into other deals that we got. So we pulled a bunch of buyers from that list, and got subsequent buyers, and we were wholetailing. And then, I didn't really know how to do an assignment. So we kind of had to learn how to do that. And, we were in a couple coaching groups and they kind of walked us through the agreements, and you kind of make a couple of mistakes and you end up, you fall for fake buyers, or you fall for buyers that are like yanking your chain and dicking you around.
Easy chain. Yeah, dude.
Yeah. So we kind of had to like fumble our way through that. And, so I think that year we did, 22 deals.
That's all, but in LA, that's a lot. Like those spreads are fat. Like this 22 deals in LA is like the equivalent of like doing like 60 deals in your regular market.
Right. Yeah. And so that was the sort of the first year in real estate. And, there's a lot to that, and mastering the LA market. I mean, I've never operated in another market, but I understand that you have to keep a lot of things, that you may learn that work in other states, and you have to temper it with the fact that it's crazy competitive. Yes. You have a lot of people with deep pockets here who are not buying for profit margin. They're buying for tax shelter. They're buying for whatever reason. So they're going to pay way more than you do. and you have a lot of people competing on pay-per-click. So we got 22 deals, and but the marketing cost is sky high. So we had to kind of maneuver our way through different media channels that we're gonna, because we were trying to drive down. We always say this: it doesn't matter how many deals you get; it matters how much profit you take home.
100%.
So
Couldn't agree more with that statement.
yeah, and you know, it's really easy because you can kind of fall for like, oh man, I want to do 50 deals this year and I want to do this. But if you don't, if you can do 50 deals and take home
50
nothing.
grand.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like luck. Yeah, exactly.
Right. So one of the things that we kind of had to learn from the very beginning, because we really we put pedal to the metal on marketing, is that whoa, we have to really watch. The deals need to be good, but we have to temper that with the deals need to be profitable. So
yes.
So over the next couple of years, we had to find our ideal deal mix. So yeah, it's been a really deep rabbit hole. But in LA, it's, your average price is $550 and up. So
crazy, dude. That's
right. A first-time home buyer is going to be paying anywhere between $500 and $600 in
crazy
lots of neighborhoods. And a first-time home buyer in the town that I live in, you're going to be paying $650 to $750. So
first-time home buyer. That's
yeah.
insane, dude.
Yeah. So the price point is huge, but so operating in LA is it's probably a lower volume play, but the deals are a lot fatter. So we've done skinny deals, where the deal just doesn't make sense to us, but we make a phone call and we're able to squeeze out $5,000, $10,000 out of the deal. But our average wholesale fee over the last several deals seems to be between 30 and 40 grand.
That's insane. Yeah, that's a typical rehab profit on most.
Right. And you said something on the podcast with Mike Hambright, and no, Mike Hambright said it too. He goes, a lot of times you'll do a wholesale deal, you'll make more money on that deal wholesaling it than you would flipping it. And we've found, that's exactly the case. A lot of times, one thing that we've learned is those sort of light rehabs are the big money makers.
Yeah.
So
I got a bunch of them right now.
Right. So our bread and butter seems to be a house that has really good bones. The roof's been replaced in the last 10 years, copper plumbing, structurally totally sound, and it just needs to be updated. And, we do those all day long. So it's really hard in LA because you'll get a lot of phone calls and you'll get a lot of people bidding up the property, and it's hard to walk away from a deal because it doesn't make sense. And if you just go a couple grand higher than the other guy, you could get it. And we've made the mistake of taking a deal because we wanted a deal.
Yeah.
And then regretting it later. And at the end of the day, and one of our mentors is Bruce Norris. And I think one of the first things you need as an investor, need to learn as an investor, is you don't need any deal.
No.
And if it doesn't make sense, don't take the deal. Don't try to outbid the guy because you're just trying to keep your guys busy or get a deal on the board.
Screwed in this business.
Yeah, and in LA, when when the price points, $600,000-$700,000, that can hurt.
There's so much more risk because of the capital costs, and it's just a bigger sale. It's not that's such a good point for people. I'm sure there's people from Southern California listening to this right now. You got to have the right expectations going in. You guys aren't saying I want to do 200 deals a year. It almost seems like you guys kind of begin with hey, we want to make this much profit. And then what do we need to do to make this profit? Whether that's 4 deals a year doing development deals, or it's doing 20 good wholesale deals. And that's how I operate my business. I start with, what do I want to make in income this year? And then what do I need to do from a deal perspective to hit that income? Because like you said, everyone brags about I did 45 houses last month. What does that even mean? What does that mean,
Right. And to bring up Bruce Norris again, the property has a job to do, right? So the property has a job. And in our case, the property has a job to make X amount of profit.
Yes.
So you don't acquire a property if it can't do its job. And we always do the quarterly planning, right? And we say, okay, we want to make X amount of money. And then we reverse engineer historically based off of what we make per deal. How many deals do we need to do? And a lot of times, we won't hit our deal number, but we hit the profit number. Exactly. And at the end of the day, it's not so much about the deals, it's the profit that we want to make. And I think that's a tough lesson to learn, but it's one that we've definitely learned.
Absolutely. And that's what people don't talk about. They want to talk about, hey, you want to do 50 deals a month? It's like, how much money do you want to make? Because people kind of get stuck like in this whole like, it's almost like, what do they say? I mean, this is going to sound a little rude, but whatever. Like, was big dick syndrome? You know what I mean? Like, hey,
Yeah.
it's like the golf swing. Like, I can swing the golf stick as hard as I can, but if I'm hitting into the woods every time, who gives a shit how freaking hard I can swing it?
Yeah,
You know,
yeah. And then it's funny because John brings it up a lot because I'd love to see the P&L of a lot of guys that
dude,
you'll see on Instagram or whatever.
it's
And you're crushing it. You're getting a lot of deals, and I hope you're making money. But operationally, it can be a mess.
it'd be a
That stuff can get away from you if you're not watching it.
exactly. And like they say in Texas, I was just in Houston last week, big hat, no cattle sometimes, it's like, it's like, no, and then you could get a lot of deals under contract, but if your contracts are falling out or you're locking up deals that are shit, like who cares? Like all that
Right.
matters is the P&L at the end of the day and the income and the profitability of the company. So it's something all the listeners need to really, I'm sorry for being a little blunt there on the show here for all the listeners, but listen, I mean, this is real stuff here. This is not, Ricky and I, are being straight up. Like you need to make sure you're beginning with the end in mind by picking how much income you want to make and not just how many quote unquote deals you want to lock up. So
Right.
as we start to wind the show down, Ricky, I mean, you provided a ton of value today. I want to end on this note here. I think every time you and I meet up, whether it's in Orange County, LA, or San Diego, we always end up talking about direct response marketing for hours at a time.
Yeah.
So what are some real big things that you've learned, maybe like your top one or two things, just from the whole kind of Perry Marshall, Dan Kennedy direct response marketing that you use, whether that's in your brokerage business, in your gym business, or in the real estate business, that people can be like, wow, that's a really good idea. I think I'm going to implement that.
Yeah. I think one of the big takeaways from Dan Kennedy, if you can like distill Dan Kennedy's teaching into one or two sentences, it's basically you want to turn your marketing so that the prospect views you as you want to go from annoying pest to welcome guest.
Oh,
right? So him and Perry Marshall and all of these guys, they all come from a side of sales where you're pushing, you're knocking on doors, you're the annoying sales guy, and you get a lot of results, but there's a lot of scorched earth that comes with that.
Dude.
It beats you up. And he goes, one of the things you want to do is become an authority. And you want to transition from push marketing to pull marketing. You want to attract deals to you. And if you look at a lot of the guys that are crushing it, they've reached a point where the deals are coming to them now.
Yes.
So Dan Kennedy teaches you to become an authority. So his system is basically whatever medium. So whether it's sending out a newsletter or writing articles or publishing videos, and we talked about this a lot, Greg, with you. It's like you're becoming an authority in the space, and now you're going to reach a critical mass where the money, the private money, the deals, all of that is going to come to you for you to say yes or no to. And I think business nirvana is when you've achieved a point where you can say no to deals and you can cherry pick. You can say, yeah, this is the deal I want. This is the one I want to wholesale. And with direct response marketing, that was the big epiphany. My real estate business and my fitness business changed when I got the column in the magazine. I wrote articles. I sent out newsletters, because when people see that you know what you're doing, and we have a book, we have a sales book. Like you did a live with Dylan Tanaka, and Dylan Tanaka is a big proponent of Dan Kennedy, and he understands. And when you can explain your sales story to the prospect, especially when you're in a low trust industry, you want to be able to show like you can be relied upon, you can be the trusted authority to get it done. Because you have somebody who wants to sell their house, they need to get out of the situation. They want to know that they're doing the deal with somebody that can get it done and that they can trust. Yesterday, I got a contract, and
boom.
Yeah, and he called me. He goes, "I just want to call you. I want to accept your offer. So come pick it up." And I was like, "What?"
Thanks. I think Christmas is in 2 months, but okay.
Right, yeah. And he said he had an offer for $350. I offered him $302, and I don't know if he had $350. I mean, sellers tell you they have an offer for
might have had smoke
X amount,
yeah,
whatever. But I met with him, and he said, "Yeah, I had a higher offer. Yes, I had a higher offer than you, but I like your style. I feel like I can trust you, so I just decided to go with you." And I think there's like a inverse relationship, is that sales skills, the need for like assassin type sales skills goes down as your credibility rises.
So
Because
true.
you get so many of these lay down deals because they already like if they opt in on your website, they read the testimonials, they understand, you know what you're doing. You can fumble through a sale. You can just short it below it, and they're just going to go with you because they trust you.
Exactly.
And Dan Kennedy, that's basically the distillation of direct response marketing. You want to be able to message to market match. You want to understand who your customer is, craft the message to be tailored to them, and show that you can prescribe the solution that's tailored exactly to what their situation is. And if you can do that at scale, you're going to get a lot of deal flow with, no matter whether you're working in a gym, personal trainer, or a real estate investor.
Man, that is absolutely, I want everyone listening to this right now to rewind the last 6 minutes of this, because what Ricky just dropped was pure gold. And it's something that, I think people, they listen to my shows twice a week. They get a lot of good information. Everyone needs to really take what Ricky just said seriously, because if you can learn this skill, it will change your life and your business life. Because when you have, like Ricky said, when you have people seeking you out, whether that's from direct mail or that's from internet marketing, you're literally pre-selling them from your marketing, and you're demonstrating how you can help them. So when they actually will go to take action after you make an offer, which is a critical part of direct response, they're
Right.
so much more receptive to what you have to say, because they already feel like they know you. And some of the best deals that I do are like that.
Right.
They get a referral, or it's like they see like that I'm all over the internet, or whatever the case is. Like the website has good copy.
Right.
But that stuff is so important. And, a big action item for the listeners right now is that you need to really study the art of direct response marketing. So there's a couple books I'm going to plug right now, and then we'll have Ricky wrap this up with his best advice for everyone. 80/20 Sales and Marketing by Perry Marshall.
Yes.
The No BS Direct Response Marketing Guide
Correct.
by Dan
Yep.
Kennedy, and then Magnetic Marketing by Dan Kennedy. Just take those 3 books, read them, implement them. And I'm telling you, if you just implement 1 or 2, even if you take Dan's like top 10 direct response rules, I have them literally cut out and right in front
So
of me.
do I. Yeah.
Like, it's like, oh my goodness, it's such good information. And it's like, that stuff just is what I really like. I like marketing probably more than sales, to be honest with you. And I just think it's just, the better you can get at that, the more value you're going to ultimately be able to provide. So Ricky, you talked about a lot of great stuff today. I really enjoyed this podcast. I think a lot of people are going to really resonate with you and your story. And the fact that you're doing this in several different businesses is very impressive. So if you had to leave, I have a lot of young listeners here, some young bucks here with some entrepreneurial advice from someone who has, several successful companies, living in LA, crushing it. What would that best advice be? What would your 20% of advice be if you're going to 80/20 it, brother?
Yeah. I think we talked about a bleeding neck problem, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I think a professional entrepreneur is a professional problem solver. So you need to look for problems. And if anybody who wants to get into real estate investing or any sort of industry, the thing you have to realize is that the most successful mentor that you can imagine, there may be one in your market, there may be, a successful book author or somebody you follow. That person has a bleeding neck problem that they're trying to solve. So if you want to become a Padawan, if you want to become a mentee, like there's so many dudes who DM you on Instagram, they message you on Facebook. Hey bro, could we sit down for coffees? And could you become my mentor? But it's like, dude, you got to bring something to the table.
Must.
So you're not going to learn unless you're doing it, and you're not going to do it unless you can do it alongside somebody who knows what they're doing. And I think if you can find a mentor who has a problem that you're able to solve, uniquely you're able to solve, either because you have the young, you can put in the sweat equity, or you have expertise in technology because, your mentor is older. My advice is to look for the problem that you can solve for a potential mentor and work alongside them and work your ass off so that you can become irreplaceable to them and essential to them, and then learn alongside them. And that becomes, I think that's the key. And piggybacking off that, you're not going to learn anything unless you're getting coached and mentored. Greg, you were my coach. I've learned a lot from, I had to learn everything about real estate investing from John, and we learned from John Martinez, and we're in Investor Fuel. You have to learn. Number one, you have to learn from people who are doing it. But when you're around people who are doing it, you realize that they're not superheroes. They're regular people. a switch flips in your head and you're like, wow, I can do this. And then it changes your mindset. And that would be my advice. Surround yourself around people who are doing it and look for problems that you can solve so that they're going to want to keep you around.
That is absolutely golden advice. If I had like a kind of like button, I would just hit that right now.
I wish I had a microphone right now.
Yeah, drop the mic, flying back to Oklahoma to buy some rentals. Anyway, Ricky, if people want to get in touch with you, so we'll put your Instagram here, your Facebook, John Medina Buys Houses. What's the website for your gym? Is it heydayfitness.com?
It's heydaytraining.com, HEYDAY training.com.
Training, TRAINING.com. Heydaytraining.com. All right. Well, we'll put all this in here for the listeners if they want to turn around and, contact you. We'll put your Instagram, Facebook, all that. Ricky, thank you so much for your time today, man. This was one of my favorite shows I've done so far, man.
Thanks, Greg.
Basically like we recorded one of our lunches, but we.
Dude, it's always fun riffing. Yeah.
Absolutely, bro. Absolutely. Well, listen, man. Hope you have a good day, and we'll talk to you soon.
Awesome. Thanks.